ready to jump back in time with me?
Always up for a good time travel adventure through film history.
Perfect. Well, today we're going to take a deep dive into the early career of Al Pacino,
Oh, love him.
focusing on the 1960s.
Fascinating period.
Before
Before he was Pacino.
before he was a household name.
Right.
We'll be looking at excerpts from his memoir.
Okay.
And we're going to kind of uncover how those early days in New York shaped him, shaped his style, his journey, who he became as an artist.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating period, not just for Pacino, but for acting itself.
Right.
The 60s saw that real clash between the old guard and this new wave of actors who are changing the game.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the most vivid stories that he tells is about what he calls the Burkhoff explosion.
Oh, yes.
So he's at the HB studio
Okay.
studying with the legendary Charlie Lawton.
Amazing.
And he performs a scene.
Okay.
Lawton loves it.
Mm-hmm.
But then
Herbert Burkhoff, who ran the studio, who was, this very influential figure in theater,
right.
he goes ballistic.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely tears into Pacino's performance.
Oh, my God.
His whole approach.
Wow. Can you imagine being on the receiving end of that?
Oh, talk about tough love, huh?
Yeah.
What do you make of that? I mean, what do you think was behind Burkhoff's reaction?
Yeah. Well, I think to understand it, you really have to consider the context.
Okay.
This was the era of Brando, Dean, Clift.
Oh, yeah.
Actors who brought like a raw emotional style to the stage and screen.
Yes.
And this approach, often called method acting,
Right.
which, involves really immersing yourself in the character's, psychology,
Right.
emotions, was seen as this radical departure from the more traditional, technically focused acting that Burkhoff represented.
So Burkhoff's outburst was almost like a symbolic clash between these two worlds, like two different philosophies of acting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Pacino, in a way, was caught right in the middle. And Pacino says that during this whole thing, Lawton kept whispering encouragement to him.
Oh, wow.
Telling him, you're great, you're great.
Really?
And it wasn't until years later, when Lawton was ill, that Pacino finally asked him about that day, about why Burkhoff had reacted so strongly.
Yeah.
And Lawton's response, according to Pacino, was simply, I think he saw the future.
Wow, what a powerful statement.
Right.
It's almost like a prophecy, right?
Yeah.
Like Lawton, as this mentor,
Yeah.
recognized that Pacino's style, his talent, represented this new wave that was going to change acting forever.
It makes you wonder if, looking back, that clash with Burkhoff might have fueled Pacino's fire even more.
Right, like to have someone so vehemently opposed to your style, yet have your mentor see such potential in you.
Right.
That must have been, like a formative experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it is interesting that despite this clash with, like the establishment, Pacino was deeply influenced by actors like Brando. He even described Brando as the influence, the force, the originator, comparing him to an epic poem while Dean was a sonnet.
I love that.
It's great. It's a great comparison.
It is.
He was clearly studying and admiring those who were breaking the mold.
Right. But it is interesting that Pacino also notes the backlash against Brando. The criticism, the mumbling.
Right.
The unconventional looks.
Yeah, even groundbreaking artists face resistance, right?
It's true, it's true.
And it reminds us that what's considered revolutionary or groundbreaking in one era might become the standard in the next.
Totally.
Think about how Brando's style, which was so controversial at the time, has influenced generations of actors since.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's like art is always pushing boundaries. And the artists who break through those boundaries often face the most resistance.
Totally.
Another figure who Pacino talks about who really shook things up is Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, yes. Pacino describes this almost mythical buzz surrounding Hoffman at the actor's studio. This sense that he was doing something truly different.
Yeah.
And then, of course, came The Graduate in 1967, which was just a cultural phenomenon.
Totally. And Pacino actually said that Hoffman broke the sound barrier for actors.
Wow.
What did he mean by that?
Well, I think The Graduate really captured the changing times.
Right.
It challenged societal norms, particularly around relationships, expectations, and Hoffman's performance as Benjamin Braddock,
Right.
this awkward, alienated young man, was something entirely new for a leading man.
Yeah.
He wasn't the typical Hollywood heartthrob,
Right.
and yet he was completely captivating.
It sounds like Hoffman's success, like Brando's before him, was about more than just talent.
Yeah.
It was about changing perceptions, redefining what a leading man could be.
Exactly. And you can see how these figures, Brando, Hoffman, even the resistance they faced, must have influenced Pacino's own artistic journey.
Yeah, totally.
He was witnessing firsthand how the rules of the game were being rewritten.
It's fascinating to see how Pacino was not only observing, but also absorbing these influences.
Yeah.
These seismic shifts happening around him. But it wasn't just the artistic landscape that was shaping him.
Right.
He also talks about the importance of personal support.
Yes.
Especially from another acting legend, Martin Sheen.
Oh, yes. Sheen offered Pacino an understudy role in a play when Pacino was really struggling.
Wow.
And in a truly generous act, even paid Pacino out of his own salary.
Really?
When Pacino was fired from the production.
He fired? How does that happen?
Well, Pacino freely admits he wasn't cut out to be an understudy.
Okay.
Couldn't focus on memorizing the lines. He even managed to get himself fired by the director.
Oh, no.
But even after all that, Sheen continued to support him financially.
That's incredible.
It is.
It really shows how crucial those support systems are, especially in a field as unpredictable and challenging as acting.
Yeah.
You need people who believe in you,
Yeah.
who are willing to lend a hand when things get tough.
Absolutely. And speaking of taking unconventional paths,
Okay.
Pacino's memoir also delves into his time as a building superintendent.
Wait, the future Michael Corleone was a building super?
He was.
What was that like?
He describes living in this tiny, cramped apartment.
Oh, wow.
Collecting rent, dealing with all the typical landlord woes, leaky faucets, noisy tenants, you name it.
Did he ever talk about how that experience influenced him as an actor?
He did. He talks about how he would observe the tenants.
Oh, interesting.
Their interactions, their quirks.
Yeah.
He even put up his actor headshot on the door.
What?
Just for laughs.
Oh, that's great.
It's almost like he was gathering material for his future roles.
Yeah.
Even as a building super.
That's amazing.
It is. It reminds us that even in the most mundane experiences, there's potential for inspiration, for observing human nature.
Right. Right.
And maybe it even gave him a sense of empathy for the everyday struggles that would later inform his characters.
Right.
Right. And it also speaks to that theme of perseverance, of finding your way.
Yeah.
Even if it means taking detours.
Yeah.
A lot of artists, especially in their early years, have to juggle day jobs.
Yes.
Face uncertainty.
Right.
Find ways to make ends meet.
Yeah.
But sometimes those detours can lead you to unexpected discoveries.
That's a great reminder that the path to success is rarely linear. And in Pacino's case, those early struggles seem to have added, depth and complexity to his artistry.
Exactly. And all of these experiences, the clashes, the influences, the struggles, were about to converge in a way that would change everything for Pacino.
Oh.
That turning point came in the form of a play called The Indian Wants the Bronx.
Okay, this sounds pivotal.
It was.
What was it about this play that resonated so deeply with Pacino?
Well, he describes it as unlike anything he'd ever read before. It's a short, intense play about an East Indian man who gets lost in the Bronx and encounters these two street toughs.
Okay.
And Pacino was immediately drawn to the character of Murph, one of the toughs, seeing in him a kind of miscommunication of vulnerability that he connected with.
And Lawton, his mentor, saw it too, right?
Yes. After watching a rehearsal,
Yeah.
Lawton tells Pacino, "You've arrived, Al. This is it."
Wow.
It's like he's giving him his blessing,
Yeah.
recognizing that this is the role where Pacino is truly finding his voice.
I love that they celebrated with, a drinking party with Penny Allen,
Oh, yeah.
Lawton's wife.
Sounds like a good time.
It's such a heartwarming moment, this
Yeah.
sense of camaraderie and belief in Pacino's talent.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember this wasn't like an overnight success story.
Right.
The Indian Wants the Bronx started small, didn't it?
Very small. They performed it in tiny venues, including one where the audience literally walked through the stage.
Wow. Imagine trying to stay in character.
I know.
But people are strolling through your scene.
That's dedication.
But that's the reality for many emerging artists,
Yeah.
isn't it?
It is.
They have to start somewhere.
Yes.
Take every opportunity
Right.
and slowly build momentum.
Exactly. And in this case, the momentum led to a partnership that would prove crucial for Pacino's development.
Okay.
His collaboration with another remarkable actor, John Cazale.
Ooh. John Cazale, this is the actor best known for his roles in
Oh, The Godfather.
The Godfather.
Yeah.
And Dog Day Afternoon, right?
Dog Day Afternoon. Amazing.
So what was it like for Pacino to work with him on The Indian Wants the Bronx?
Well, Pacino describes Cazale as the sweetest man ever,
Yeah.
but with a very unique approach to rehearsals.
Okay.
He called it the unconscious narrative.
Unconscious narrative.
Okay. And it involved constantly questioning every line, every motivation,
Yeah.
really digging deep into the subtext of the scene.
That sounds like a very intense process.
It was.
Very intense.
Was Pacino intimidated by that?
Not at all.
Okay.
He says that it was through this constant dialogue with Cazale,
Yeah.
this almost interrogation of the text,
Right.
that they really found their way into the heart of the play.
So it was a true partnership,
Oh, yes.
like a collaboration that pushed them both to go deeper.
Absolutely. It speaks to the power of having a strong scene partner, right?
Yes.
Someone who challenges you,
Right.
inspires you to bring your best to the table. It's like a dance,
Yeah.
where each person is feeding off the other's energy.
And this partnership, both on and off the stage, would become incredibly important for both of their careers.
Yeah, they've made some iconic films together.
Yeah, but before they could really hit the big time, they had to get The Indian Wants the Bronx to off-Broadway.
Yes.
And that's where they hit a snag, right? They did. The producer, Ruth Newton,
Okay.
wasn't initially convinced about Pacino.
What?
Yeah, she found him too clean-cut
No.
for the role of Murph, the street tough.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
After all the work, all the passion he'd poured into this play,
I know.
he's suddenly deemed, like, not right for the part because of his looks.
It happens more often than you might think.
Really?
In the world of acting, casting is a very subjective process.
Right.
And sometimes it's not just about talent.
Yeah.
It's about fitting someone's preconceived notion of a character.
So what did Pacino do?
Well, he was understandably furious.
Yeah.
He even told Lawton he wasn't going to audition.
Oh, no.
But Lawton, ever the wise mentor, reminded him, if you don't go, you don't get it.
Right.
Sometimes you have to swallow your pride and fight for the opportunity.
So he went to the audition,
He did.
surrounded by other actors, some of whom he knew,
Yeah.
and all that anger,
Yeah.
all that frustration.
Fueled his performance.
Yeah. He describes delivering his first line.
Yeah.
Hey, pussy face.
Wow.
With this raw intensity.
Yeah.
And the director, Israel Horovitz,
Okay.
immediately stopped the audition and gave him the part.
Wow, what a moment.
It was.
That defiance, that
Yeah.
tapping into his raw talent
Yeah.
is what finally convinced them.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful performances come from a place of authenticity, of vulnerability.
Yes.
And for Pacino,
Yeah.
this was just the beginning.
Yeah.
The Indian Wants the Bronx was a hit off-Broadway.
Great.
Pacino and Cazale both won Obie Awards,
Oh, wow.
which are like the Oscars of off-Broadway theater.
So things are finally starting to look up for Pacino.
They are.
What happened next?
Well, the play went to Italy for a festival,
Okay.
more importantly.
Right.
It caught the eye of some major players
Uh-huh.
in the industry.
Okay.
Pacino mentions Faye Dunaway,
Wow.
fresh off the success of Bonnie and Clyde, recommending him to her manager, Marty Bregman. Marty Bregman.
Yeah.
Now, this is a big deal, right?
He was a force in Hollywood,
Yeah.
represented stars like Judy Garland, Barbra Streisand,
Wow.
had a reputation for being tough,
Okay.
but also had a keen eye for talent.
So he saw something special in Pacino.
He did.
Yeah.
He even compared him to Dustin Hoffman.
It sounds like a match made in
Hollywood heaven.
Hollywood heaven, right?
Right.
But their first meeting wasn't exactly smooth sailing, was it?
It wasn't.
Pacino describes feeling out of place in Bregman's lavish office,
Right.
even being, like, eyed suspiciously by the security guard.
It's a different world.
Yeah.
And then there's the detail about Bregman keeping a gun in his desk drawer.
Oh, my gosh.
It really paints a picture of a very different Hollywood.
Right.
A grittier, more streetwise side of the business.
But beneath that tough exterior,
Yeah.
Bregman genuinely believed in Pacino's talent,
He did.
offered him financial support,
Yeah.
promised to help him, navigate the industry. Sounds like he saw past the rough edges.
Yeah.
Recognized Pacino's potential.
Exactly. And Pacino recognized that he needed someone with Bregman's experience, someone who understood the game,
Right.
to help him navigate this new world.
So even as his star was rising, Pacino was still learning, still figuring out how to play the game.
It's a process.
Yeah. And it wasn't always easy, right?
Yeah.
He talks about getting fired from his next play.
Yeah.
A Joe Papp production.
Right, and it was a tough experience for Pacino.
Yeah.
He was fired for taking too long to find his way into the role. But even as he was firing him, Joe Papp, who is this, very influential figure in New York theater, told Pacino that he would be a great star one day.
It's amazing how even in those moments of disappointment, there can be those glimmers of hope.
Right.
Those validations from unexpected sources.
Yeah. It's like, even though he was being let go,
Yeah.
Pacino's is still being seen. His potential was still being recognized.
Absolutely. But those setbacks can still sting.
They do.
And Pacino talks about feeling like this trauma after being fired.
Yeah.
Running aimlessly through the streets of New York.
It's heartbreaking,
It reminds us that even with growing recognition, the world of acting is full of rejection and setbacks.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of resilience to keep going.
It does, and resilience is something Pacino clearly had in spades.
So what happened? What was next for him?
His next role came about when William Devane quit a Broadway play called Does a Tiger Wear a Necktie?
Okay.
Pacino was offered the part.
Okay.
And it marked his Broadway debut.
This is a big moment.
It is.
What was the play about?
Does a Tiger Wear a Necktie was a very topical play for its time.
Okay.
Dealing with the social issues of drug addiction and rehabilitation.
Wow.
Pacino played Bickham, a troubled addict.
Yeah.
And he describes connecting deeply with the character's pain and alienation.
And he even shares a line from the play.
He does, yeah.
That really resonated with him.
It's a powerful line.
Or was it?
Here's where I got my love. Right through the main line, Jim. My father was a needle, and my old lady was heroin.
That's heartbreaking.
It is.
It sounds like Pacino was really tapping into some deep emotion.
Deep emotion.
To this role.
Yeah, he describes breaking down during his audition when he delivered that line.
Wow.
It was so raw, so authentic that they hired him on the spot.
It speaks to the power of vulnerability, of channeling your own experiences, even painful ones, into your art.
But he also says that he never cried again.
Oh, really?
While performing that scene after he got the role.
Interesting.
Yeah, he says that he developed a technique to make it seem real without having to fully go there emotionally every night.
It raises an interesting question, right?
It does.
About the craft of acting.
Yeah.
About finding that balance.
Yeah, between technique
And emotional truth.
How much do you allow yourself to be affected by the material?
Right.
How much do you protect yourself?
It's a question that resonates with anyone who works in a creative field, I think.
I agree.
How do you stay open?
Yeah.
Vulnerable, but also protect yourself from being overwhelmed.
Yes.
By the emotions of the work.
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah. And for Pacino, even though Does a Tiger Wear a Necktie was a short-lived play, it marked an important milestone.
It did, his Broadway debut, but he was also nominated for a Tony Award for his performance.
That's incredible. So he's finally getting the recognition he deserves.
Yes, he is.
And it's funny, he tells this story about how he jokingly told his manager, Marty Bregman, about this fake acceptance speech.
Yeah, just in case he won.
Just in case he won.
Right.
What was the speech about?
It was all about his grandmother telling him, in Italian, that even a schmuck can win a Tony.
That's great.
It is. It's classic Pacino.
It's so Pacino.
That mix of self-deprecation and humor.
Yeah, but then, against all odds, his name is announced.
When's the winner?
As the winner.
He ends up delivering a more traditional speech, of course.
Right.
But it's almost like he's still figuring out who he is in this world of fame and recognition.
He's not quite comfortable with the spotlight.
Yeah, not yet.
But he's starting to learn how to navigate it.
He is. He is.
And that journey takes this unexpected turn when he decides to take a break from acting and try his hand at composing music.
Interesting.
He even pretends to have quit acting altogether.
Really?
To avoid this opportunistic former colleague who's trying to, use his newfound fame to get ahead.
That's rough.
Wait, he pretended to quit acting?
He did.
Why?
I think he was feeling the pressures of early fame.
Yeah.
The feeling of being pulled in all these different directions.
Right.
He needed a break.
Yeah.
And he also needed to protect himself from those who might exploit his success.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Like he was testing the waters,
Yeah.
trying on different artistic identities.
Yeah, before fully embracing his destiny as a screen icon.
Exactly.
Right. And it's a reminder that even as Pacino's star was rising, he was still figuring things out, still searching for his own path.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see these different facets of Pacino emerging.
Mm-hmm.
On one hand, he's,
driven,
ambitious, talented.
Yeah.
But on the other,
still figuring it out.
Still finding his footing, trying to figure out how to handle the attention.
The pressure.
And the pressures that come with success.
Yeah, and that push and pull is something that a lot of artists experience.
Right.
Especially early in their careers. It's a process of, self-discovery.
Right.
Figuring out who you are both as an artist and as a person.
Right.
In the midst of all the chaos.
Yeah. And what's so inspiring about Pacino's story is that even with all the twists and turns, the setbacks,
the uncertainty.
Yeah, he never gave up on his passion.
He kept pushing forward, kept honing his craft.
And that's ultimately what makes this deep dive into Pacino's early career so compelling. It's not just a tale of Hollywood success.
No.
It's a testament to the power of perseverance.
Absolutely.
The importance of having mentors,
yes,
a support system, and the transformative nature of pursuing your dreams, no matter how unconventional the path may be.
It's a story that I think anyone who's ever chased a passion can relate to.
Oh, absolutely.
The rejections, the self-doubt, the moments where you question if it's all worth it.
Right.
Those are universal experiences.
Yeah, as we wrap up our deep dive into Al Pacino's, pre-fame years, what stands out to you most about his journey?
That's a great question.
What's the biggest takeaway?
Well, for me, I think it's this reminder that even legends start somewhere.
Yeah.
Pacino's story, it really demystifies the idea of overnight success. He faced struggles, made mistakes, relied on the support of others.
Yeah.
Just like anyone else.
Right.
Pursuing a dream. It reinforces that talent alone isn't enough.
Right.
It's the combination of hard work, resilience, and, yes, sometimes a bit of luck.
Yeah.
That often paves the way.
I think that's a really powerful takeaway.
Yeah.
As you've been listening to Pacino's story, what moments resonated most with you? Think about your own journey, your own experiences with ambition, rejection, mentorship.
Because those experiences, those seemingly insignificant detours, setbacks, might actually hold the seeds of your future successes.
Right. Just as Pacino's time as his superintendent.
Right.
Those encounters with his tenants. Likely informed his later portrayals of complex, flawed characters.
Right.
Your unique experiences are shaping your perspective, honing your craft, preparing you for the opportunities that lie ahead.
It's true.
And as you continue on your own path, remember Pacino cleaning floors, getting fired from plays, pretending to be a composer?
He did it all.
Even a future Oscar winner had to navigate those early struggles.
Absolutely.
It's a reminder that the journey is just as important as the destination.
It is.
And sometimes the most unexpected experiences can lead to the most extraordinary